2 locations, Wildwood and North Ocoee. JimRushFuneralHomes.com.
Well, we are so glad to welcome Scott Hamilton to our broadcast. Scott, of course, a gold medal winner, and figure skating, of course, 1984 Winter Olympics, 4 consecutive World Championships, and 4 consecutive U.S. Championships, and then, of course, became one of the great broadcasters in figure skating of all time, and we're joined now by the legendary Scott Hamilton. Scott, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks. Hey, you can be my hype man anytime. I want to take you on the road with me. That was pretty amazing. Thank you so much.
I will be tonight, as a matter of fact.
Good. Yay.
Scott Hamilton, my goodness, Scott, so glad to have you on this morning. You'll be in Cleveland tonight, and everybody's looking forward to seeing you.
Well, I'm excited to be here. It was an easy drive in yesterday. I had a great dinner last night at Inman Social, and what an amazing place that is. And it's just to be able to be with the students, be with the faculty, and to raise some money for this nonprofit organization is it's truly an honor.
Scott, you've, of course, really gone worldwide. You have an unbelievable story and testimony. And, as you see people and you speak to people nowadays in the crowds in which you do, what are you hearing? What's the mood right now as you travel this country and you talk with people?
It's really, it's a knee-jerk thing to go to politics, right? But I just think that, everybody, with the introduction of technology and social media and just how we've been more connected and never more divided, I think is one thing I keep hearing constantly. But I try to encourage wherever I can that, we are all one people. We all just really want to be safe and to have opportunity and to have identity and validation. And we all just want the same things, and I guess it's just how we go about that is different, but it should never pull us apart. It should be just something that's a dialogue that we can have that, where we all just come together and understand that we are God's creation and He meant for us to live as a community in harmony. And if we can find a way to pull that off, I think that really honors Him.
We're joined by Scott Hamilton. Let's go way back to when you started your skating career at, I believe you were 9, is that right, or was it younger than that?
Yeah, I was 9 years old, yeah.
What was it, Scott, we're joined by Scott Hamilton, what was it that really appealed to you about the sport?
It's sort of like a equalizer. You've got a very slippery surface, and a lot of people weren't used to being on that. I was always kind of the smallest, weakest, sickest S kid growing up, and I always felt like I was less than, and I was just less than because I was so much smaller and I spent so much time in hospital rooms, and when I got on the ice, I realized that I was literally, figuratively, and in every way on equal footing with all the other kids my age, and so within weeks I could skate as well as the well kids, and within weeks after that I could skate as well as the best athletes in my grade, and it really gave me my first taste of self-esteem, and I just really wanted to be a rink rat after that, and I played hockey, I did figure skating, I did pretty much anything, all the ice shows and competitions, and I really just I loved it, and the more I skated, the healthier I got, so it was just sort of like the perfect situation for me, so I'm just really grateful for all of it.
Then, Scott, of course, your career, which was just one of the greatest of all time, and winning that gold medal in 1984, and then, of course, the World Championships, the U.S. Championships, but what was it like skating for the United States of America? Tell me, what was it like to represent our nation?
It was the best. I was in the building when the hockey team beat the Russians. I went to every hockey game that year because I'm a huge hockey fan. I got to know Eric Heiden, who won every single race, which will never be done again. There were so many things in 1980 that just sort of set me up for the next 4 years. It was just amazing. I got to carry the flag in the opening ceremony, and I was a tourist. I had no chance of medaling in 1980. But, heading into the next 4 years, I really just saw opportunity. I saw sort of the way that preparing for the 1980 season and really being humble and hungry, looking at, what are my weaknesses, what's preventing me from being successful, and addressing those, head on, just going, okay, I don't like compulsory figures. I just don't like the figure eights. I hate them. They're boring and da-da-da. So I kind of was always using that as an excuse to not be good at them. And then I realized all at once that this is the foundation for everything, and I need to just grow up. And I always tell my kids now, I look at them, I go, what's the greatest strength? And they'll just roll their eyes, and they'll say, lack of weakness. And I go, exactly. Find out where you're weak and get strong, and it's funny how that really is sort of like a situation all of us can relate to. There are things that we don't like to do in our jobs. There's things about our jobs, it's not, rarely is it a perfect situation where there's always something that we don't like to do. We don't like to do it because we struggle with it, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, once I started falling in love with compulsory figures, it came where I had such a leg up on my competition that I went that whole 4-year period between, except for one competition at the very, very beginning. But from October of 1980 through March of 1984, I never lost. And what's really wild about that is when I first started competing on the national level, especially in the younger divisions, I'd always come in close to the bottom all the time, like always I was last place guy. And, my first nationals, I fell 5 times at a 3-minute program. And, it's just all those things that, everything was kind of rooted in, well, I know what failure feels like. Well, I'm still here. But, I really would love to step into a situation where I could figure out how not to do that anymore. And that's just by putting your head down and doing the work.
We're joined by legendary figure skater Scott Hamilton. Just a couple of more questions here. And, of course, Scott will be the featured guest of Cleveland State tonight here in Cleveland, the Bradley County Schools Pie Center for their annual Evening with dinner and also the Community First Awards. The backflip, Scott. Now,
yeah.
people. I mean, you're YouTube,
I'm not
man.
a smart man if you haven't figured that out yet.
Well, I mean, I got it. How did it start, and how did it continue?
Well, when I turned pro, I needed to figure out a way of doing things differently, and so I was looking around, and I was really trying to learn, and I did that as an amateur competitor as well. I looked around, and I saw the people around me, what they were doing, and I just was always, and so there were a couple guys doing a backflip in the old Ice Capades, and every time they did it, they got this reaction from the audience, and it was like, well, I want to learn one of those. And so the very first one ever done was by a guy named Skippy Baxter in the 1940s. And he figured if he went backwards really fast and he stuck his toe in the ice, it could stop his momentum for just long enough to shoot him up in the air. And if he tucked over, he could probably do a backflip. That's how crazy he was. And Skippy gave me my first lesson, and there's no technique. It was just sort of a tuck and pray thing. And I said, it's not going to work for me. I got to do something better. So I had friends in the gymnastics world, and there was a gymnastics coach named Greg Weiss, and his son Michael ended up becoming a U.S. national champion, a world medalist, Olympian. But when I met Michael through his dad, he was a diver. He wasn't even in figure skating. His sister skated, but he didn't. And it was really funny how I learned the backflip from Greg Weiss, and there were a couple of ice show comedians, Gigi Perselli and his son Joey, who taught me how to take it to the ice. And the first time I did it in front of a crowd, the reaction it got was like, oh, I'm not going anywhere without this bad boy. I'm going to take this everywhere I go. And I just sort of became known for it. And a lot of people think I invented it, but I didn't. I just got a lot more credit for it than I deserved. But it was a way of having that demarcation line of I'm no longer an amateur competitive skater. I am now an entertainer. And these are the things I'm going to do to entertain an audience.
I love it. I mean, the YouTube clips are incredible. And, there's so much we could talk about, Scott Hamilton. It's like you've lived many, many lives. And we're going to talk about We're going to talk about that tonight. But for this,
Great.
But for this morning audience, we'll end it with this. You did have a 1997 a much publicized battle with testicular cancer, and you've battled health issues. Obviously, what got you through, Scott? What was it? And maybe you could say to someone this morning who's facing something that would encourage them this morning about your personal situations.
Well, what I learned is that our bodies are fragile. They're also resilient and ultimately temporary. And what we really want to do is make sure that we get everything we can out of this life. And so, if whatever you're going through, do it as well as it can be done. If you're on chemo right now, make sure you're eating right, make sure you're sleeping right, hydrate, make sure that you're active, because the more you're able to get up and move around, the better the cancer drugs can work in fighting back your cancer, and always have like that guiding light. For me, I didn't understand at the time, but I really understood now that it was sort of my faith that got me through, even though I wasn't practicing it back then. I knew in my heart that this was important for me to, I need to go through this, and this was an important thing for me to do. And on the other side of it, it was amazing that it changed my life for the better in so many ways. So, for anybody going through it right now, I'm just saying embrace all of it and make sure you're participating fully in everything, and you're not, basically giving up. You've got a life to live, and you've got something. You have more memories to make, more memories to receive, more memories to participate in. You've got people that love you, that want to see you succeed in this battle. And I just say, we're working hard through my CARES Foundation to change the way people are treated for cancer forever, and that's every form of cancer. And the days are coming where no one has to die of this disease anymore. We just have to keep working towards it, and that takes up a lot of my time. In fact, tonight I'm driving back. I have to drive back to Nashville. I had my wife's favorite aunt has recently passed. We're going to the funeral, and then I go straight to Lake Placid for Miracle Day, where we're doing a fundraiser for my foundation, the CARES Foundation, where we do Skate to Eliminate Cancer. And we're doing a frozen 5K on the speed skating oval in Lake Placid, and we raised a lot of money, and we've been doing that for a long time, and we're going to continue to do that until we conquer this disease. And there is hope, because everything lies in the human body, and our immune systems are, just need to be unleashed against this disease, and we don't have to outside agents or chemo. We're hoping to replace all of that with a immune response to the cancer. So we're working hard, and I lost my mom to cancer, and it turned me into a fundraiser, and then I survived cancer, and it turned me into an activist. And 50 years ago, my cancer had a 5% survival rate, and now it's 95%, and that's all research.
Wow.
So we're continuing to fund research. We're continuing to reach out to as many people as possible to, be a part of what we're doing and be a part of what they're doing. And it's that old line of, well, somebody's got to do something about this. And it's like, well, yeah, we all are. Let's get together and just conquer this, because too many lives have been lost. And I know that from friends and relatives, and I've seen a lot of people survive, and more people are surviving now more than ever, and we just got to keep that trend going.
Joined by Scott Hamilton. How do people get more information about your foundation, Scott?
Oh, it's scottcares.org. Scottcares.org. And come join us. We do this fun campaign, the 1984 campaign. That's kind of the year that I turned sort of a podium into a platform, when I lost my mom, again, I became a fundraiser. But when we created CARES, it was to really look after the whole patient. We've done some extraordinary things with a mentorship program, a website that describes chemotherapy in 8th grade English and all the side effects and everything else. That's chemocare.com. And we've done a lot of really cool things, and now we've really put our stake in the ground for immunotherapy research. Let's treat the cancer and spare the patient harm. Let's just allow for something that doesn't belong in our bodies to be recognized and destroyed. And so we partner with, we're an alliance. CARES stands for the Cancer Alliance for Research, Education, and Survivorship. And so we really want to look after, everybody we possibly can and fund as much research as we possibly can. And it's been really an amazing journey to see this thing grow. And I feel like we're just, beginning to step into our biggest and best years.
Scott, I can't wait to meet you in person this evening. We've not even touched on your broadcasting career and the fact that you and Uncle Vern Lundquist, called one of the most watched television programs in the history of television, Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding, all those years ago.
Oh, boy.
We'll talk about it tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that tonight because I think you'll be, you won't be surprised by Vern's response, but you may hear some things you haven't heard before. But yeah, that was a crazy time in our sports history, and we're still kind of trying to figure out a way to recover from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a lot to talk about tonight, for sure.
Scott, thanks for calling. Like I said, I look forward to meeting you. I'm honored to be interviewing you this evening, and can't wait to meet you, buddy.
Hey, Steve, you're my hype man, boy. Let's make this
We're
happen.
doing it. I'll see you in Lake Placid this weekend.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you, Scott. Great talking to you, buddy.
All right.
Bye, man. Scott Hamilton. Man, I'm looking forward to this, Bridget.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Tonight, Cleveland State